Laboratories across universities and colleges play a pivotal role in grounding theoretical fundamentals. But setting up a laboratory is expensive business. To fill the gap and foster a new realm to the education ecosystem, IXR Labs, a new age edtech startup, brings exciting, immersive, insightful, and interactive virtual reality lab experiences. Hello everyone, this is Prachi Tiwari for SME Futures, and today we are interviewing Mr. Nihar Madkaiker, who is the co-founder of IXR Labs, to understand what inspired him to start virtual reality laboratories.
I am Nihar. I hail from Goa, and it's all of this actually started way back when I was in during my engineering uh, as a career as an engineering student. So I was quite involved in the education and edtech scene at that time as well. So we started off an NGO called Fascination, and we used to teach students using a lot of the latest tech around us, and we used to create games and small tools for students to learn using a lot of the latest technologies that was available around them. And it had always been in me that I wanted to do something of my own, start off something of my own, and set off on the entrepreneurial journey myself.
So, how has IXR Labs leveraged the use of VR as an emerging technology in the education industry?
So I'll give you the three cases that we have worked on, and I'll probably elaborate with examples within each of this. So for example, so I am a mechanical engineer by education. In mechanical engineering, we learn a subject called thermodynamics. Now, this subject is a very interesting subject in only theoretically. While it has real practical applications in colleges, it is taught in a very boring, bland manner, where you usually just solve numericals and problems, etc., and you don't really understand what are the practical applications of it. That's where we can bring in this technology to help visualize students on how is this technology being applied. So let's take a case of very commonplace applications like jet engines. Every day, being used every day in the aviation industry. Jet engines, car engines. Primary applications of thermodynamics. But students don't visualize on how they are being applied. Makes it a very big challenge for students to when they go, let's say, on their jobs, or when they, let's say, pursue higher studies, to apply the concepts there. Then let's look at medical education. Now, in medical education, cadavers are now being restricted, or there is limited use of cadavers allowed in education. If a doctor is not allowed to practice on a cadaver, how would a doctor become perfect? So when a doctor goes on and actually practices on a real human or a live human, it would make it very challenging for him if it's the first time that he's actually doing it. So that's where virtual reality can help doctors, surgeons practice a lot before they actually go and perform the real experiment. So that's comes from the nature of the technology, is you can run repeated uses without any additional cost, and it's a safe environment as well. I mean, as a mechanical engineer, if I want to, let's say, play around with a engine and see how it works, I can do it without harming myself. Or let's say, if as a surgeon I want to practice on virtual reality, I can do it without harming or risking anyone's lives. Similarly, in sciences, let's say your BSc, MSc courses, uh, a lot of it is research oriented. Now, before students get into research, they need to understand how do they use the equipment, how do they perform certain experimental procedures. While if you do it first time in the lab itself, it can be a challenge that you can make certain mistakes, waste material, time, resources. That's where virtual reality can help you practice a lot before you actually go and try it out in the real lab environment. So that's how we have been leveraging virtual reality to help each of these fields get better in what they do.
So, what is your viewpoint on the current status of the VR industry in education, including its potential for growth and impact on the future of learning?
In the current scenario, the situation, I think, giving in relation with the challenges that I also initially spoke about, with the technology rapidly changing, it is hard for a lot of the institutes to make a lot of investment in the technology. So there is a challenge from the colleges and that they are reluctant to spend a lot of money on the technology. But there is a lot of interest to do it. There is a lot of interest that they, yes, see it as an important part of their infrastructure spending, and they would be spending on it in the coming years, etc. At the moment, it is extremely low. I mean, there are colleges who have, let's say, spent for small setups, small lab setups by themselves. But then they have probably only spent for the hardware. They have not made investments in the software aspects because, again, there is a lack of understanding on what the technology is about or how they would use it. So people are making efforts in different aspects of their capacity. The other fact being that now that the technology is getting standardized, people are finding, or colleges and institutes are finding it more easier to understand, okay, what is the kind of equipment that they need to buy, the software that they need to take up. So the spending or demand is going to grow rapidly from this year onwards. 2023 was the year that the technology industry, specifically around VR, has been talking about a lot, and I think it's now that from 2023 onwards, it is going to exponentially grow.
What are some of the key challenges and opportunities that the VR industry must address to better serve the needs of educators and students?
So some of the challenges that the VR industry needs to address, firstly being is the standardization of the technology. There are a lot of different players, a lot of different headsets, a lot of different software platforms. We need to standardize the technology so that content can be scaled faster. I mean, we can development effort need not be duplicated for each kind of headset or each platform. The other aspect being that we need to build a large content library. At the moment, there is very little content or applications that people can use. So, like in the internet, the use of YouTube or the use of Netflix, etc., grow the growth a lot faster. That is something that would also improve the growth of or usage of the technology in the education space. The opportunity being that we could allow a lot of the students, educators themselves to build for the technology. They can build for the content as well, so that would help grow the library faster. And the other being that in the education and the industry, they have accepted that this is the technology that they have to implement in their educational curriculums and in their pedagogy itself. So they would that would be a big opportunity for the technology companies in the VR space to look at it.
So, what is the vision for your company?
The vision for us is to be one of the largest enablers of higher education, particularly driving improvement in learning outcomes through use of immersive technologies. So that's what we are focusing on. We would want to reach by 2025 1,000 plus engineering or medical or science colleges, that is higher education institutes, and impact at least over 10 lakh students across the globe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nihar.
Thank you.